It's Sage. Welcome to Thylio Design. Today, we're going to be doing a tour of all of my prints. I have collected a lot of these prints over the course of a few years now. I think I started like 2020, if I'm not mistaken, and I've been collecting them like little by little. Some of these are by other people, some of them are by myself. There's just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about regarding these prints. First of all, like I said, did not collect these all at the same time. Trust me, I don't have the money to do that. First thing. Second thing is that you'll notice with most of these prints, with the exception of my own prints, that it is limited to one piece per artist. And that's mostly because I didn't want all of my prints here to just be like one artist or like two artists. I wanted there to be variety. When it comes to picking prints, I think I'm very picky. I've noticed, like, because I view these as essentially like investment pieces. Not to say, not investment as in like for resale purposes, obviously not. But investment as in like the day that I move. That is just one less expense that I have on myself. So I won't need to buy any more prints. I will have a fully furnished apartment as far as the walls are concerned, because I have all the prints I want. Technically, I am not finished though. There are some little pieces here and there you'll see that are empty, but for the most part, I would consider this pretty much done. I don't really think there's like much else wall space in my room to put more prints, so this is kind of like what we're working with here. And obviously I cannot show you all of the prints and things and stuff in my room for OPSEC reasons, so we're just gonna start from here to the, I guess, my right, your left. So I have this little back scratcher here because I don't have a pointer, so we're just gonna roll with it. You know, we're on budget here here at Thylio Design Productions. Not the legal name yet, however, the point still stands, so we're gonna be using this to point around and stuff. So first, obviously, you gotta start off with the non-binary flag. This flag is, I believe, from Flags for Good. I had been eyeing up, not specifically from Flags for Good, but just like a non-binary flag in general, because I really like being non-binary. Being non-binary makes me really happy. So of course, having a flag of my gender also makes me really happy too. Not really much else to it. Just is the flag. That's it. Alrighty. Oops. Moving along. Can't really see me. Sorry about that. I'm gonna be popping in the corner here, but here we have it. If you see me looking down, it's because I have a printout of all the names and stuff for the prints, because like I said, I've collected these over so many years and I don't have the greatest long-term memory, so when it comes to remembering who made what, it's nice to have a little handy dandy sheet, and so that is what I have. So the first one we're going to start with is actually the first print that started this whole thing, and that is Butches by Rye Garden. Now, like I said, I'm really picky when it comes to prints, but I just, as soon as I saw this print for the first time, I was like, I have to have it. There's just like no ifs, ands, or buts. And so I saved up the very little money that I had at the time, and I bought it off of Redbubble. This is like one of my favorite pieces. I just love it. So I love the art style of it. I love the varying types of people in the print. And overall, I just think it's really cute. I don't know. Gotten into a little bit of controversy with my family over having this print because they think it's like extremely homosexual, but like, what am I but not a homosexual? No, I'm just kidding. I'm only slightly homosexual. Only slightly. Righty, moving on. This and a few other prints that I have. Let me move out of the way here. This and a couple of other prints I bought all at the same time from a website called Drool. I got them all at the same time because they were having like a really great deal. I think it was like buy 5 prints, get like 1 for free or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was like a steal of a deal. I was like, I have to get it. and I had really wanted a piece. This is Evergreen by George Kempster, who I've been following on Instagram for some time, and their work, I must say, so it's just so inspiring. I think when I think of like art pieces that are like so good, they're like unattainable in the sense of like, oh, I could never do that, or my skill level just isn't at that level, or it would take like forever to get to that level. When I see their work, it feels like my own work, but better, if that makes sense. And so obviously I loved it so much. So I really, really, really wanted to have a piece of theirs. And when I saw that they were an artist on Drool and they had the sale going on, I was like, I have to get it. Have to. And I don't know, I really like it. As far as what the piece is about, or like the reason why I chose this specific piece, honestly, it just looked the best out of all of them. And you'll notice that I have a balance here on the wall in general of cool tone pieces and warm tone pieces. And I try to like keep the balance between the two. And so I think that's also why I picked this one, because it's a little more on the cool tone side, if you will. So kind of made sense. Next piece on the list. Is it true? Believe it or not, this is my own piece. I know. This is actually a redesign of a piece. I might put it up here on the screen somewhere. I hesitated redesigning it for some time because I did get it printed, and usually the prints that I get, when the stuff that I get printed specifically of my work, I tend to consider very I don't want to say one and done, but just kind of like it is what it is. I don't know how else to word it, but like final, essentially. Like there's no, like I'm not tweaking the piece in any way, shape, or form. This kind of is what it is. And I also like to pick the best of the best for me, so it felt almost a little, I don't want to say insulting, but I did kind of have some hang up around the idea of redesigning it. But I love Is It True so much, like the song, the Tame Impala song, one of my favorite Tame songs of all time. And so I was just like, you know what, I kind of just want to take another crack at this, and I did, and I love the result. I think it came out so good. The colors are just so like everything about it is just so great. If you're wondering where the other piece is, the original piece that I have, do not worry, I sent that away to a friend who I'm presuming is taking good care of the piece. So no worries about that, but this really is like one of my favorites. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, the original one, the color scheme was like black and purple, so it's kind of like inspired by the, oh my god, what the fuck is it called? Oh, the cover art. Inspired by the cover art. This, however, is inspired by the cover art in a slightly different way, and I chose this like neon green because I was inspired by a piece I think I saw on Pinterest at the time that I thought was just so cool. And I've done like, I think I've done like a couple of pieces sort of in this vein, in this motif, but this was specifically for Is It True. And again, I like it so much. Alrighty, hello. I am now crouching down because I am standing because my legs are giving out on me. Anyways, so we're gonna start from the top and then we'll work our way all the way down to the bottom, and then we will continue moving this way. This piece up here at the top is actually it's not a two-piece, but I did get it at the same time as two other pieces. And this is from, I don't know how I want to say their name. So like technically their like business name is Courtney Ann Design, but if I'm not mistaken, they prefer to be called Corn. So this is Corn. I love their Instagram. I love the advocacy work that they've been doing. This one specifically was a mini print that I got because it was only like a couple of bucks. I was like, why not? It says, why do you make everything about race? And it says, because it usually is. Racism is deeply embedded into almost all systems, institutions, and policies today, which is absolutely true. It's a very simple piece. I got this frame, I want to say I got it from Home Goods. It's a little bit big. I believe the print is 4x4, but the frame is 5x5, but I could not find a 4x4 frame that I like because there's barely any to begin with, so I just kind of like settled for this one. But I still like it. Like I said, very simple piece, not much else to it, very small. I'm running out of wall real estate, as you could probably tell, so these smaller prints I think are really good to fit in like the tiny little nooks and crannies that I have where I can't fit like a full-on piece. Alrighty, moving on. Now we have this piece. This was actually gifted to me by my ex-girlfriend. I don't know where she got it from. It might have been Walmart or Five Below. I don't know. Kind of a different piece, I will say, compared to all the other ones that I have on here because it's a canvas print. Everything else here is framed. But I don't know, I still like it. Fairly simple. Not much else really to it. Just kind of is what it is. Alright, so moving on to this piece. This I got from the Perez Art Museum. It's a long story, but basically I had to go to a museum for like a school project or whatever. And I picked it up at the gift shop. And what I find really funny about this piece specifically, I should clarify, I mean, it does say Black Lamp Studio at the bottom, so I'm assuming that's who made the piece. I don't know what the piece is titled, because like I said, I just got this from like the gift shop. But anyways, what I find so funny about this piece is that it is clearly obvious that this was made pre-2020, I would presume, because there are a couple of inaccuracies in this piece as far as 2025 is concerned. First thing I want to point out, obviously the AAA. Rest in peace to the AAA. I still call it the AAA. Everybody in my family still calls it the AAA. In fact, when I was talking to my mom a long time ago about a concert, I was like, oh, they're having like a concert at the Kasaya Center. She was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, that's a AAA. She was like, oh, okay. So like, I feel like that says everything about the notoriety of the American Airlines Arena, the AAA, as opposed to the Kasaya Center. No tea, no shade. And also you have, where is it? I cannot see it on here. Where is it? Oh yeah, Marlins Park. Although that one I feel like is kind of like that's fair. Because Marlins Park, I think it just changed to like Lone Depot Park. Like I think even like after I had purchased the piece, it had changed. So I like the piece a lot. It is a little bit of a different style of piece. It's not necessarily a style that I resonate with. I mean, I do like it, but it's not something that I necessarily gravitate towards. But I felt legally and contractually obligated to purchase it because it is the map of Miami, even though this is not. Well, okay. I don't want to give details on where I live, but I would say I would quantify this as being more like downtown Miami. I would say, like when I think of downtown Miami, this is usually what I think of. I'm sure most people, when they think of Miami, they probably just think of South Beach, which is fair and valid. Hello, still here. Can't see me, but I'm still kicking. So moving on to this piece. Now, this piece is kind of funny because I have my little cheat sheet out of all the names and stuff of all the prints that I have on my wall here. And I unfortunately could not find this particular piece to save my life. I tried checking the website. I tried checking like my history. I just could not find it, which I think is kind of funny because it might mean that I have a semi one-of-a-kind piece. I don't think it's like one of a kind, but certainly this is not a piece that everybody has because you can no longer purchase this piece. So this, I'm just gonna call it The Only Person That You Need to Impress Is Yourself poster by Tyler Spangler, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let me tell y'all, oh my god, I have been following Tyler Spangler on Tumblr since I can't even tell you how long it's been since I've followed their account, and I've loved their design work for so long. I love the colors that they use, the style of it. It's very me. Like, it very much speaks to me. And so I knew I wanted a piece of theirs on my wall for the longest time. And at the time, I was torn between like two different pieces. I don't remember what the other piece was, but I do know I was torn between that one and this one. And I chose this one because the quote sounds very similar to the quote from Tame Impala's Alter Ego, which is the only one that's really judging you is yourself. Meanwhile, this one is, for context, the only person that you need to impress is yourself, which I feel like I kind of feel like they're two sides of the same coin. And so I was like, this is the one that I'm gonna get. Really love the color scheme. Obviously, I love the message. A lot of these pieces that I have on here are very inspirational in that kind of way, because I am but a goldfish and need to be reminded of certain things, and remembering that really nobody else's opinion matters is very important to me, as somebody that stresses out quite a lot over what other people think, as far as like maybe not necessarily who I am, but more so like the actions that I take, you know. Just reminding myself that like, if you're not paying my bills, I could care less. So important. So important. I very much enjoy this piece. For sure. Alrighty. We are now here in the corner to talk about this piece. This is also one of the pieces that I bought from Joel. It is called I Won't Bite by Alexander Kabazi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This one, what can I say about this piece? Honestly, I just like it. I think it's so silly. You know, I promise I won't bite, but I probably will. I feel like it does kind of speak to my psyche just a little bit. I don't believe in the zodiacs. However, sometimes some of the things I hear about Scorpios does kind of hit. And I'm like, oh, that's a little too real. That's just a little too real. But like, well, I don't really want to get into it. But the point is that, you know, in spite of my disbelief of the zodiacs, sometimes they do hit. And I feel like this piece is giving, it's giving Scorpio energy, even though the animal in the print, I believe, is a snake. Is it a snake or is it a crocodile? Or an alligator? I feel like I should know this. Maybe it's a dragon. I don't know if I can know. I feel like I should know as a Floridian, you know? I feel contractually obligated to identify what is an alligator and what is a crocodile and what is not an alligator or a crocodile. But unfortunately, I do not possess that ability, which probably means that I will be getting my Floridian card taken away from me. Next piece. Do you want to know who made it? Do you want to guess? Do you want to guess? Do you want to guess who made it? I'll let you guess. Go ahead. Yes, it was me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would like to dedicate this moment to Jesus, even though I'm not religious, but I will be thanking him for this wonderful moment where you answered correctly. Thank you so much. Have you listened to Norfolk Hotel by Melody's Echo Chamber? No? Okay, you need to fix that shit right now. This is probably one of my favorite pieces of all time. Not just like for Asterisks, but also just like in general. I love the song so much. I cannot even articulate the words and like emotions that I have about this song because it is just so I think what I like about it so much, originally when I had listened to it, I had thought, within the perspective of Astro Boy, I had thought of it as more of like, because there was a ship that I had at the time, and I was like, oh, this is really like exemplifying of that ship, like this is totally the two of them, like that's their vibe, yada yada. But the more that I listened to it, the more that I kind of realized, wait, actually, I think this is more of a story about Astro to Astro, which blew my mind. And I feel like it made me feel some type of way, for sure. I just, so I felt so compelled to make this piece. Now, one of the things that I don't like about this piece is that at the time that I was making it, I was like, I wanted to do this like rotating type that sort of like went up and down, sort of like a, you know, one like this and then one like that. But when I went to go make the second set of type, I was like, oh, I don't want it to be matchy-matchy. Oh, I don't want it to be matchy-matchy. I want it to be different. But when I made it different, I realized when I did it that I made it look worse. I think that I should have just bit the bullet and like made them matchy-matchy because it just looks better. that way. I don't like the way that it like when it's the other way, you know what I mean? Like when it's like this, but then it's like this, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining this right. However, the point still remains. This piece, it doesn't happen too often, I will say, but this was one of those very rare instances where, because when it comes to like graphic design for me personally, I like to think of the idea machine in my brain as like the ice cream machine at McDonald's. Where it's constantly like breaking and running down and not working. So it is very like stop and go, very much like having to sit and wait for another idea to come out, or trying to like coach myself whenever I do something that I don't like, where it's like, it's fine, it's not the end of the world, we're okay. But this is one of those very rare instances where I kind of like locked in, and I just kind of like kept adding to it and added to it and adding to it. And I find that those pieces tend to be my best ones, or the ones that I like the most, because just, you could tell, at least I can, I don't know about y'all, but I can tell. I can tell when a particular piece of mine, I just kind of like went for it. I didn't stop and just kept like going and going and going and going, because it just has so much going on, but in a good way. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why I like this piece so much, and it's definitely one of my favorites of all time. Next piece on the list is Dreamin' by Crime. This is probably one of the funniest pieces I own as far as like the response goes. This piece gets quite the kicker out of like family members, people that come and visit and check it out, because I assume they think it's like ironic and funny. They don't really think of the piece as serious. However, I do think that the piece is serious, or at the very least I take it seriously. I feel like that's kind of the thing when it comes to politics. Leftists, I feel like people on the far left would take this piece seriously. Like they would unironically believe, you know, about not wanting to work and sort of the abolition of work, which is what I do believe in. I do believe in abolishing work. However, I feel like people on the right kind of like have the same idea, but not seriously, if that makes sense. Like they just kind of think like, oh, that's silly, that's kind of funny, you know, that you don't want to, you know, that you don't really dream of labor. Because I feel like they also feel the same way, but their like belief system and mentality, I feel like kind of gets in their way of seeing it as like an actual possibility, and they just kind of see it as like a funny, frivolous thing, you know, they don't really take it too seriously, which might actually work in the benefit, because this piece in particular is created by an anarchist. Regardless, I really do love this print. I did not realize that this print was as big as it was, because I completely forgot European page or paper sizes. So when I got it and it was like fucking huge, I was like, oh my gosh, so I had to like make it the big centerpiece. And you know what? I'm not mad at it. Well, I mean, I kind of am, sort of, just a little bit. Only because like I do like this piece, but do I think it's like, do I like it enough for it to be the centerpiece? Probably not, but just because of its size, it is the main piece here. But I do generally agree with the sentiment. I do not dream of labor. I think when it comes to work, I was just talking to my therapist about this the other day, but when it comes to like me and work personally, I kind of just like, if it was up to me and I lived in a more, I guess, politically progressive world, maybe one that like embodied more anarchist principles, I would not have a job. But I am forced to have a job to make money and pay bills. So it's like this dichotomy of like, well, I really don't feel like I'm suited for the workforce. Like, I just don't think I'm built that way. But unfortunately, it is something that I have to participate in, whether I like it or not. Which I think is, brings up an interesting topic, an interesting conversation, sort of thinking about the world and how we are told that we have a choice under capitalism, that capitalism is the whole reason why we even have a freedom of choice to begin with. And then we very quickly realize we actually don't have a freedom of choice when most of the businesses out there are owned by conglomerates. Some of them are even hiding the fact that they're owned by a conglomerate. And so like you're still giving these like major companies like Procter & Gamble and Nestle and whatnot all this money, and you don't even realize it because you think you're buying some like mom and pop brand or some like new startup you know, without realizing. And so there's that aspect of it. But then there's also the aspect of, you know, you have to work. You have to have a job. Otherwise, you will starve to death. Or you won't be able to pay your rent. Or you won't be able to have any sort of luxuries in your life. And it's very... I definitely think about it a lot, and it does make me feel some type of way. I'll say that. Okay, we have 3 pieces here on the bottom. I think I'm gonna knock all 3 of these out at once. So let's do it. This is Kill the Cop in Your Head by Kel Lauren. Talented designer. Really like this piece. It is very much a philosophy that I agree with. I have to use one hand to prop myself up because, again, I am very inflexible. So we're gonna make do with what we have. This piece right here, the one that I'm gesturing at, is called Gaza Rizzo Print by Alyssa Ellis. I wrote it down, but I still can't even understand my handwriting. Whoops. This, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was like a charity piece, a crowdfunding piece, if you will, if I'm not mistaken, for the people of Gaza. I don't know, there's not really much to say about this print. I really wanted to support the cause, and I like the print in general. I will say you can't notice it, thankfully, in the frame that it's in now, but I did, when I bought it originally, it did come a little bent, which I don't think is the fault of the person at all. I very much blame USPS, as many people do when their packages do not arrive correctly. And yeah, not really much else to it. Free Palestine. That's it. Alright, so this piece is by Poster Journal, who I have been following for, again, a really long time. I love the work that they do. I know I've said a lot about the people that I've purchased prints from, but it is true. This sentiment, it says, oh no, it's not perfect, we should call the police. What I like the most about it is that it very much feels, maybe not feels is the right word, but it sounds a lot like how my brain operates. I can't remember the full tweet right now, but it basically, if you remember, if you've been on Twitter or X, you know, whatever, it embodies that sentiment of like, should we call Bella Hadid? Oh my gosh, you got a nice coffee, should we call Bella Hadid? Like, that is literally how, if you want to know what my inner voice and my inner psyche sounds like, that is who they are. And so I feel like the only way for me to combat it is to just speak its language. And this is very much speaking its language. Hello, welcome back. Finally looking at the camera again. Okay, starting off here at the top, and we're gonna work our way down. There's really only like a couple of pieces here, so we'll knock these out, and then we'll move on. This piece is called, okay, so it is titled Flowers by Kai Lawrence. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Not really much to say about this piece. It's kind of a one and done piece. Rare instance where I was not familiar with the artist prior to purchasing the piece. I just happened to see the piece and I really liked it. They have a couple of other pieces that I really want, but they're like, I don't want to say they're not safe for work, but they're kind of like they're not safe for work. However, to the average lay person, they might be considered non-safe for work. So I feel like I don't want to have those pieces up in my room right now because I do live with other people who are not of age, if you will, and so this was the most safe for work piece. And I love the colors. If I do a lot of, when I think about like prints that I've done a lot of like bright color pieces, but I also really love pieces with like this color scheme, and I really wish that I would remember that and I would make more pieces with that kind of color scheme, because I just there's something about it that's just so like me, you know. So I really like it. Alright, so this piece is called Liberation by, gotta make sure I pronounce this correctly, obviously Gonzalo. I'm Latin, and I'm gonna struggle pronouncing this last name. That is so embarrassing. First name Gonzalo, last name is Guerrero. Sorry, I cannot roll my R's, but Guerrero. Okay, and Secret Rizzo Club. I found out about them through I want to say Julia Fletcher posted about them on Instagram. I mean, on her Instagram story. And I just like fell in love. And in fact, I went back to their website because I needed to get information on the piece. And I saw some of the other pieces that they've done and other work that they've done. And I just, oh, it's so fucking good. I'm just like flabbergasted about how good it is. I just really like it. This piece, I think it might actually be one of my favorites. I think it is because the style and the like execution of it all, it's just so me. Like, it's giving very like anti-design and sort of like surrealist, but in such a like, I can't even like, it's so good. It's so good. If I had all the creativity and all the skill in the world, I feel like pieces like these would definitely be up my alley and what I'd start making, because it just very much is my vibe. So I love it so much. I love the colors. I love the type. I love the sentiment behind it. Liberation from the oppressive systems. Yes. Very much agree. And yeah, I got this white frame. All of these frames, well actually, except for like the smaller ones, some of the smaller ones I got off of, basically all the ones that aren't in regular like American size paper, I got off of Amazon. But this one I got, all the rest of them I got from Walmart. And I got this one in white because I thought that it would complement the piece a little bit more, because I think they had run out of black. Or maybe this specific size they didn't have. I don't remember what the story was, honestly. It's been so long, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with something that sort of like hides the print a little bit. It does stand out a little bit amongst all the other like darker frames, but it's fine. This one, the Miami piece, and I believe there is one more that's also white. So it kind of creates a little bit of balance, because I was like, well, if I have just one, it's gonna look a little odd. But if I have multiples, it'll kind of fit in a little bit more, I think. I'm guessing. So this is another piece that I got from Drool. It is Get in the Fucking Frog Pit by Ali Wild. I remember when I got this piece, my mom had come in and saw it, and she was like, what does that mean? And I thought about it, and I was like, well, considering the sides of the piece saying, you know, get weird, be free, I feel like Get in the Fucking Frog Pit. I feel like the frog pit, if I'm interpreting this to the best of my ability, I think the frog pit is sort of like a... And then my camera died. Very funny. I think that the frog pit is kind of a euphemism for like the thing, you know, the thing that you have to do, the place that you have to be, the person that you are. I think getting into the fucking frog pit means to just like go for it. You know what I mean? Just like be whoever you want, do whatever you want. Like, it's not that serious. That's my thought process on it. All right, talking about this. Oh my gosh, talking about this piece up here. So this is one of the only pieces out of the whole entire wall here that I've actually gotten printed myself. And by printed myself, I truly mean like myself, like I printed it with my printer. There are some other pieces on here that I have gotten printed, meaning like I took it somewhere to get printed, or I ordered it online to be printed. But this one I printed myself. I don't know if it's like an issue with my printer or an issue with my print itself. I tried to change the color to CMYK to help it out a little bit. I still don't think it came out that great. I just needed something to fill out the space, and so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna choose one of my own prints that I feel like fits the space really well. It says gender, I hardly know her, which I think is really funny because I headcanon them as agender. And you can't see it because, again, the print is so like whatever, but on the like edges of the print it says I actually don't understand this joke, and so I decided to take a very literal approach with it. Neurodivergent vibes. And we have a lot of Astorings pieces on here just because, one, I have more Astorings pieces just in general. And also too, it is one of my special interests. So of course I'm going to get it printed, because if I can't buy merch, I will just make merch. Moving on to the next piece here. This is Geometric Sweet Candy by Cave Poster. This is another drool print. This, I feel like, complements the Liberation piece in the sense that this very much exemplifies like my style, like personally. Alrighty, here we have Question by Elliot Ohm, aka Elliot is a cool guy. There is a very funny story behind this piece, obviously about how it was made or anything like that. Obviously I'm not the artist, but there is a funny story in terms of how I procured this piece. So at the time that I had gotten this piece, I was in college, and I had this particular professor for, I want to say like advertising design. I don't remember what class it was specifically, but I had this professor who, like, every class would try to like find a way to wiggle in a lecture on how design is not art, and how design is like a communications medium, and how it's all about the client, blah, blah, blah. And he was also a really big stickler, like when you would present your work and stuff, you needed to have like a 12 paragraph essay memorized and on the ready to whip out whenever he would ask about like why you did this or why you did that, or what's the reason for this or what's the reason for that. And I feel like, you know, I guess if you're somebody that thinks that design is not art, then I could see why you would think that way. However, I feel like if design is art, then artists should be allowed to make art. And I don't think that it should be viewed like I don't know how to explain it. Like, all art can be critiqued, yes. I don't think anybody is above critique, also yes. But also, like, understanding fundamentally that, like, design is the silliest thing on God's green earth, and that, you know, you don't really need to take it that seriously. Like, does it really matter the reasoning behind certain things? No, I don't think so. I don't think grilling students on the hyper specifics of something is like worth it or not. So this piece, I feel like the sentiment, do not question my design choices because I did not question them myself, is very much the antithesis to that professor I had at the time. And so it was very funny and a odd coincidence that I purchased that piece during that time that I had that class. And the funny thing about that class is it was through Zoom, first of all, and we had to have our cameras on the whole time during that class. So I don't know if he saw it, that I had the print in the back, but if he did, oh well. I don't think it changed his mind in any meaningful way, but I do think it is very funny. And I do feel like this sentiment is very much akin to my approach to design, because like I said, I'm already dealing with as much as it is already. You know, I don't need to make something that I find slightly difficult and slightly demotivating to be any more difficult or demotivating than it has to be. Just like allowing myself to be free and make the work that I want to make, just no strings attached, no explanation. I just want to like make art for the sake of making art because I like making art, and that's really all there is to it. If I got bogged down by the notion of, oh, but like I have to have like a very intricate reason or a very like intricate explanation for X, Y, and Z, I would literally never design. Alrighty, now we're getting down to, I might as well do these two here because they're both by the same artist. I'll talk about this very briefly. This Protect Trans Lives came with my crime poster. I don't know if it's a sticker or not, but I did put it here because this actually has gone through. It's been moved around quite a bit on my wall, but I put it here because it just fit the space perfectly, because this gap between here was a little too big for my liking. That was a mistake that I made, but it's fine. This piece, again, they're both by Korn. This one is titled Trans People Have Always Existed, and then this piece is titled All Our Enemy. This one here, obviously, do very much believe in the sentiment. I was visiting my grandparents actually a couple of weeks ago. Well, not a couple of weeks ago, like a month or so ago. Like, it's been a while. And I was just thinking about this sentiment, this idea, and I saw somebody post about it on Instagram, and I was like, that's so real. This idea that like trans people will outlive transphobia. Like, transphobes, they can come and go and say whatever the hell they want, but trans people will always exist, and the existence of trans people will outlive the existence of transphobes. Like, eventually, not to say that there won't ever be transphobic people, but that those particular individuals will not, like everybody dies at some point, and so I feel like their existence, like, of not transphobia as a whole, but just like of specific individuals will not, like my grandparents will, like the trans people will outlive my grandparents. You know what I mean? Like there will always be trans people. Trans people have been around since forever, and they will continue to be here for a very long time. I, not just like as a non-binary person, but also just like as a human, I feel so compelled to be an ally to trans people, because I just feel like they're so cool. You know what I mean? And they're people just like us. Not to say that that means to say that if they weren't people that they wouldn't deserve care and support and allyship. Obviously not. I feel like everybody is inherently entitled to worth and value regardless of who they are and what they are and what have you. And I feel like pieces like these, even though it's one thing to say this, is one thing to sort of vaguely hold the belief, it's another thing to enact on it, but I still feel like this at least is, I think, a stepping stone to getting that message across. Alrighty, so we've got a few pieces here up in the corner. We're going to tackle those in a second. Right now, I want to focus on the pieces that are on this side, minus the corn piece, obviously. Which, I didn't talk about the corn piece, the other one. Pretty self-explanatory. You know, the same thing as the other piece. Just kind of got it because I thought, you know, $2, not bad. Whatever. Give it the sentiment. Yada yada. Etc. etc. I digress. This one, we'll start with the one on the top. That one is Lost in the Sauce. That one came with my Gaza Rizzo print for free, and I just kind of like stuck it up there. I don't know where actually I'm gonna put it. I think that's a tentative spot for right now at this moment in time, but hey, if it's is what it is. Next we have this piece by Daniel Devoy, if I'm not mistaken, who did this amazing Tame Impala piece. It's very funny. I am a huge Tame Impala fan, as you can probably guess. However, if you ask me when the last time I listened to a Tame song was, I don't think I'd be able to tell you, because I've been listening to so many other things, which is very funny. But it is my legacy now at this point, which I think is very hilarious. And you know what? I'm not mad at it at all. I'm not mad whatsoever. When it comes to this particular piece, though, there was two different pieces. So there was this one, and then there was another one. We'll put it up on this side so you can still see the piece. There was another piece for Lonerism and Inner Speaker, and I went with this one because I liked it more, even though, if I'm being completely honest, I don't know. I feel like I'm the world's most basic Tame fan, in that my favorite Tame album is Lonerism. I feel like Lonerism is like every Tame Impala fan's favorite album. Even like those that aren't Tame Impala fans do recognize that Lonerism is the best one, which is very fair and very valid. But that doesn't mean I don't like any of the other albums, I will say. It's just that that one happens to be my favorite. This is one of the, I think so, yes. This is one of the last pieces that I got from Droll. This is called Harmonic Balance by Adam Foster. Again, with a lot of the pieces that I got from Droll, I feel like you could say the same thing about all of them, and that is that just the style, like the graphic design style, is very much like my speed and what I enjoy a lot, and so that's why I got it. It's of a smaller size because I want to say that that was the deal, and like if you got like a certain amount of piece, you get like a certain like small piece for free, something like that. I don't remember what the deal was. However, point still stands, I really like this print. The only issue that I have, which I don't think is a fault of the piece itself, is that it is a little bit cut off by the frame here, but again, not the fault of the piece. I think it has everything to do with the frame that I got from Amazon. You'll notice that this one also is brown. I have 3 pieces that are of this like brown frame, because similar to the white frames, I wanted there to be a balance of frames, but also because this matches some of my room decor. In fact, I realize now that this probably should have been the kind of frame that I got for all these pieces, or at least color wise. Maybe not like frame wise. I don't like frames that are like this thick, but like I said, there was nothing I could really do. I couldn't find any frames that were like a more of like this style, where the like, for lack of a better word, like the bezels, I know it's probably not the right word, but I'm thinking in like computer terminology, sorry, but like the bezels on this are like really thin, whereas this one's really thick. I prefer thinner ones because I like for the piece to kind of speak for itself. I like the frames essentially to just like hold the piece and have it be there, but like still allow the piece to like shine through. I know some people like for the frame to sort of like interact with the piece in a way where it almost like brings out certain qualities in the piece. I'm not like that though. I just like the pieces to sort of speak for themselves, because that's why I bought them, you know, and I only really put them in a frame just so that they're a little bit more nice and neat. Hi, hello. A little bit of a weird angle here because again, I cannot show you too much of my room for OPSEC reasons. So we're just gonna roll with it, okay? So first, I think I'll start with this piece, and then we'll work our way down to some of the other pieces. There are a couple of pieces here that I cannot show you because they are story spoilers for one of my personal projects. So unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to get into those, but I can show you the rest of them, and we are almost towards the end. Trust and believe. I feel like I've been here for too long. Okay, so we'll start with this one. This is actually a redesign of a piece. I will put up the original here somewhere, I'm sure. I, at the time, was watching the Kellyot podcast, as I'm sure many of you designers probably were. And there was a tutorial that they did on how to achieve this sort of effect. And I decided to try it out with some of the sim versions of some of the AB characters, specifically their, I guess, adultified versions for my project Sketches of Metro City, which, if you don't know, is a AB fanfiction that I have been working on for some time. Have not been working on it lately because I've been working on my personal project. However, the point still stands that I really do enjoy it. And this was a pain in the ass to make because this is no disrespect to Affinity Photo. I do love Affinity quite a lot, but some things in Photoshop can just only be done in Photoshop. You know, sometimes with some like Photoshop tutorials, you can follow along and vaguely be able to recreate it in Affinity Photo. That tutorial, however, was very much exclusive to Photoshop, so it was a little bit difficult to try and make this in Affinity Photo, but I tried my best, and I don't know, I really like it. I took the original concept and just kind of modified it by making it more colorful, and also, like I said, including the adult version of the characters as Sims, because I cannot draw, so I used the Sims. In fact, I made this, and then I also made another piece. I think I'll put it up here also, that I did. I originally posted it to Instagram, but I had to archive the post because I had kind of realized that I didn't want anything related to Asterix on my main page, just because I had already decided I was going to make another Instagram for that account, and then I never posted to it. Oops. But the idea was still there, so I was like, you know what, I don't want this on there because I didn't want it to be too confusing, even though, you know, if you haven't seen the show, then you probably would have just thought these were like original characters of some kind, which is fair and valid, but that is not the case, however. So now we move on to this piece, Lost in Outland. Oh, Lost in Outland. What can I say about it? Lost in Outland is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the O3 series of all time. Okay, I don't know what it says about me that it is my favorite, but it is my favorite. And so, of course, I had to do a piece dedicated to it. And this is also one of my favorite pieces of all time, which is very, I'm not to say very funny. I guess it is kind of funny, but it's very coincidental, I guess, if you will. A little satisfying, you know, that my favorite episode also ended up becoming one of my favorite pieces. Sure. This piece, at the time that I was making it, I was really into this sort of like surrealist nature theme, where I just really wanted like some sort of like nature background from Unsplash that I would just like crank the saturation up on and then just like add shit to it. That was like the whole MO. And this type, this Lost in Outland type, is actually custom. Is the first and last time I ever ate doing custom type. Because yes, I did try to do another piece after this way later, where I thought that I could recreate the lightning in the bottle that was custom type, but unfortunately I can only eat once. Apparently I cannot eat twice when it comes to custom type, so I have learned. But regardless, I still really like this piece. Alrighty. So here we have Robot Hunters. Now, if Lost in Outland is my favorite AB episode, this is definitely number 2. I think that this episode, like Lost in Outland, I feel like speaks very much to me and sort of my deepest thoughts, inner desires, what have you. This, however, is very much exemplary of what I think of Astro as a character. Like, I feel like this is very much like everything that I know about them and understand about how they operate, and sort of like the mode in which they, like, I don't even know, man, just like their inner psyche, you know, what's going on in their noggin, can very much be described by the events that happen in this episode in particular. I just, I love this episode so much. This is also, for those that are AB fans, hot take, this is also Astro at their most Tenma. I do believe so. I believe that this is very much Astro exhibiting, as people with the Long Island accent would say, this is them being just like their father. I'm not going to do the accent, but you probably know, you're probably thinking it already, I'm sure. I just, talking about this print in particular, I should have clarified, obviously the ones that I'm showing you right now, these ones I've done all by myself, and I got them printed, not by myself, but I did design them. This one, as far as the print is concerned, one of the biggest issues that I had going into it, and again, I went to school for graphic design, so you would think this wouldn't be an issue for me. However, it very much is. I, again, forgot about margins and print lines and what have yous. I'm not even remembering the terminology, which I feel like says quite a lot. But the Hunters part in Robot Hunters is a little bit cut off at the bottom. This episode has, I think, one of my favorite moments ever, because Reno was in this episode. Oh my god, my baby, my son, light of my life. One of the things that he says in this episode, specifically the dub version, okay? Don't come at me about sub versus dub. I don't have time for that. There's like this point in the dub where he's like talking to Astro and he's like, but then he didn't. That's what you said, right?
And that hunter was going to shoot you. But then he didn't. That's what you said, right?
Regardless, I still like this piece, and I still like that episode. I haven't seen it in a really long time. I haven't seen anything AB related in a long time, and that's on purpose because I am working on my personal project right now. I don't want to spoil it by rewatching or consuming anything AB related, because I feel like it would just, like, the person that I would become after that would not be someone capable of working on my personal project. Alrighty, so like I said, there's a couple of other pieces here that I cannot show you because story spoilers, so unfortunately this is the last piece that I will be showing you as part of this tour. Fairly simple Animal Crossing New Horizons print. I got this for Christmas, I think, or my birthday. I can't remember which one, but I know my brother got it for me, and I want to say he got it from Ross. Notice to Ross. Not really much to say about this print. I haven't played Animal Crossing in a really long time. I still like this piece, you know what? Even though it is just like the video game box art, the cover. of it. To answer the very obvious question of who my favorite villagers are, that is a really great question. It's a toss-up between like Carmen, Charlize, and Maple, I think. Those are my top three. I don't think I could pick one in particular. Those are just like the top three. And like I said, I haven't played the game like forever, so like, you know, these are just the ones that I'm also like able to remember off the top of my head, which I feel like is indicative, even though like I said, I have the memory of a goldfish. So I still think it's indicative of how much I like them if I was able to remember them even after having not played for a really long time. Alrighty, and that is all of the prints. Thank you so much for joining me on this little journey here. I know it was a long tour. However, I have a lot of prints and I have a lot to say about the prints. If you have any other questions about my prints, do let me know down below and I will probably be able to help you. If you want any like tips or tricks or suggestions on prints, I will say just like waiting, you know, checking to see if any of the artists that you follow make prints or sell prints, I feel like is a really good one. Also going on certain websites like Redbubble, Society6, Drool, obviously not sponsored, but they have a ton of prints from like a ton of artists. In fact, I just went on there, like I said, to look up stuff for my little list here, and I saw a ton of really great prints that I feel like would be really great for anyone's room, for that matter, or anywhere. It doesn't have to necessarily be a bedroom. As far as my plans for the future for prints, I have one print in particular that I want to get, that I'm just like waiting on finishing, because it's a print that I'm making, so I have to finish up the design on that. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming, so we'll see whenever that comes out or whenever I finish it and then get it printed. But other than that, I think that's kind of it. I don't really have much wall real estate in my room, so I feel like once I get that print, my print days are essentially gonna be over. But you know what, it was worth it. With all that being said, thank you so much again, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.